The album is called Emotional Vampire, and it comes from the award-nominated film score composer, the multi-instrumentalist. This is the first solo endeavour from James Colton and combines years of work with heavy rock and orchestral compositions into these electronic soundscapes too. There's all different directions that this record goes in, and this morning we're going to find out a little bit more about those directions. James Colton joins me on breakfast this morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks, Pam. Happy to be here.
So glad for you to be here and so glad to be getting into this project. I'm really excited about these kind of strange worlds that you're melding together, and I want to talk about them.
Oh, thanks.
But I first want to get a bit of your background. So we were talking a little bit off air about how you've been in bands that people might know of or have heard of before.
Probably less know of than... I've been playing in bands for 10, 15 years and some, I don't know, there's been a great love of the Perth music scene, and I've been lucky enough to play with Mark Neal from Oddlaw and Michael Strong, and currently playing with Matt Rudis from the Tucker Bees in his new band. So yeah, I've been around.
Yeah.
But you know, I've never done a solo record before, so it's kind of like my first time to try it on my own, see what happens.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see when an artist who clearly has, done their time, but also, has a lot of influences, turns their attention to their own work, because you start to realise, I guess, the kind of things that have impacted you the most and the things that you've become interested in the most. You also wrote a fantastic film score, which got award nominated, and you play woodwind instruments in an orchestra, and that was all happening in the sort of background of this record, I guess.
Yeah, it was nice to draw on some of those things, which I don't know. I played saxophone in high school, and then I think I probably hadn't touched it in like 8 years. And then finally brought it out and was like, now it's on like every other track that I do. So.
Yeah, you can hear this record sounds really cinematic. I mean, we heard it with that track there, and it does sound really expansive. The record goes into all these different places, but it overall sounds huge. It sounds enormous.
I'm a big Pink Floyd fan, and I do love a good soundscape. It's thanks. That's kind of my thing. So.
Oh, I'm glad that's what's come through. How long ago did you sort of turn your focus to a solo record? When did you start work on this, and what was the kind of the catalyst, the impetus for it?
The catalyst was I guess I started work on it probably definitely before COVID. It was quite a while ago. And it was originally just going to be this thing I made on my laptop. I was just going to be, it's just for me, and it's just like a bunch of little ideas, electronic things, soundscapey, a couple of little tracks. And then I got really lucky. A few friends of mine were forming this, they had this studio and they needed someone else to help share the rent. So I jumped in on that, and suddenly I had this rather beautiful space full of expensive recording gear, a bunch of really nice mics, and all this fun stuff to play with. So I started layering it onto the album and started making these tracks with the studio gear. And as I was doing that, I really enjoyed listening to the tracks evolve as I replaced the computer electronic layers with live musicians. Layer by layer, the songs really evolved, and at some point I just went, I should use that. And so a lot of the tracks start with like an electronic composition, and then layer by layer they kind of get swapped out for live musicians.
Oh wow!
That one you just heard, you can hear the starters all very electronic, but the last 8 bars or so is just a full rock band playing in the studio.
Wow.
And that's why the ending sort of explodes a bit more than if it was just an electronic production. So it's been fun experimenting like that. Along with the experimentation has been a lot of genre hopping. So I haven't really boxed it in. I haven't really decided what I'm doing yet. Maybe, I don't know. It's
but it doesn't feel discordant.
I'm glad because I thought it did for a long time, and then at the end of it I was like, no, it still sounds like me all the way through.
It does. It sounds really connected. I think all of the kind of I don't know, it feels like there's a narrative through line through the record. I don't know if I could tell you what that's about. Maybe you could tell us, but it feels like there's a connection for all those songs.
I think it's definitely about technology. The whole premise, I'm a huge sci-fi nerd. It's this kind of a lot of Blade Runner imagery and that sort of idea with all the artwork that comes with it. And I guess it's the narrative is about technology, and a relationship to it maybe is, like, at the moment is pretty easy to form some bad mental health habits with technology, but it's also hard to deny that it's an amazing tool, and if you sort of have to use it creatively, it's like a wonderful thing. So yeah, I hope people come away from the album sort of thinking about their relationship to technology and whether they're using it effectively as a creative tool or whether they're letting it drain them, maybe.
Yeah.
So that's where the vampire aspect of it comes from.
I getcha. I love that idea that you started in the world of technology, and you started with computer-based sounds, and you sort of finish in a louder way on some of those tracks with the live band. It feels like this idea of going back to community or going back to real life and coming away from technology rather than going to technology at the end of the track. It feels like going back to real people and going back to community seems essential and seems right. It seems like not advice, but a kind of testament to the goodness of that.
Yeah, it's easy. I mean, I've always loved recording music. As you get into production, as things become modernized, everything gets a little more computerized, and it's very easy to replace certain parts of songs with samples or computer technology or virtual instruments. And I think there's always something about going back to a live musician and just recording them, and it just, the emotion is just so effortless, and the dynamics, everything just sort of gets better and feels right. So I kind of like that, but there are also things that computers do really well. They can be really hypnotic. They can kind of hypnotize you and do kind of cool things, like especially the soundscapes. They can be really fun to play with. So I guess starting from the computer side was just a happy coincidence or a happy accident. And it was just somewhere along the line I realized that the actual progression from that to the live musicians was actually a really effective tool. So I started abusing it a little bit, maybe. So.
No, I really like it. You recorded, mixed, arranged, wrote. You did everything for this record. I mean, you had those.
Had some help from others.
Okay,
but yeah.
You had other musicians coming to play with you, but really a testament to your kind of ability. But when you are doing everything, or when you're doing a lot of it yourself, did you find it different or difficult to kind of step away from it or get good perspective on what you were making?
I definitely have. It definitely takes longer than when you're creating with others. You generally get a lot of work done in a short burst of time that's very, very dynamic and very creative. With this, I definitely put songs down for up to 6 months before picking them up again and kind of changing them and adding new things. I think that's the trick if you're working as a solo artist. Just give yourself perspective. Yeah. I think one of the cool things about getting older is that if you put something down for 6 months, you can actually forget how it was when you pick it up again. So you can add a brand new idea and it feels fresh. So I think there's a little trick to that as well.
Yeah. I'm curious about the sound bites and samples because despite listening to this record over the weekend, I'm sure there's things that I didn't pick up on or that I missed. Is there things that you want to, I don't know, not point out to people because I know there's joy in discovering it, but are there any weird, strange things that you've sampled or used, strange ways you've made sounds on this record that you think are fun for folks to listen out for?
Look, there's not actually a lot of sampling on this. There's the samples there's one track which is obviously sampled because it has a Donald Trump sample, a little bit of political fun. So those are obviously samples, but the rest of it, probably more electronically made instruments and rather than actual samples. Okay. There might be the odd kick drum sample or a snare sample from something, but that wouldn't be huge. I think like this. If we're going to play Clockwork Love today, listen out for the wind chimes. Okay. And the Glock is a fun one, and sort of using orchestral instruments. I'd like to there should be a challenge of trying to pick which ones are real instruments and which ones are computer generated.
Okay, I love that as a challenge.
Yeah, the brass instruments, there's a nice mix of real instruments and computer generated.
Okay.
That I think blend really nicely. And if people can tell me which are which, I'll be surprised.
If people had to listen to this album, Emotional Vampire, James Colton, in a dream circumstance, if you had to or got to create a circumstance for them to listen to it in, what would it be? I'm not instructing people. You've got the license of creativity and imagination here. But if this record existed in a way to be listened to, existed in a world or a realm.
Oh, look, I'm definitely a private with headphones on kind of listening guy. That's all my favourite musical moments are usually in a quiet room with headphones on and dim the lights and sort of enjoy it that way. That's kind of my thing. But really enjoy it however you want. There's no rules.
We're going to get into Clockwork Love, a track from this record. Other than listening out for the chimes, what else do we need to know about this track?
It's a love song.
Nice.
It's kind of one of those things, I'm not going to write a love song. They're cheesy. And then you fall in love and you write one.
Oh,
anyway.
Everybody loves a love song.
So, but it's... my girlfriend's from Ireland and she gets homesick. So this song's kind of about that and a little reassurance, I guess. And hopefully... I just appreciate that she's giving up a lot to be here with me, so it's about that.
Oh, that's really lovely.
Oh, thanks.
James Colton on Breakfast this morning talking about Emotional Vampire, brand new solo EP, solo LP. Anyway, you don't need to hear me talk. You need to listen to the album. James, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.